Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I am off work today. Been blowing up the Facebook post just because I'm off work and it's what I do. I play these games as my hobby and usually do a lot of Facebook posts while I'm playing. So don't really have anything going on. Just about to enter some stats for the 1984 group project and thought I would get on here and chat while I did that. Not really a good chatter. I'm a pretty introverted person. So don't know why I decided to do this, but giving it a shot. We'll see what happens. I did want to turn on uh, share my screen because that's probably better to look at than just me. Whatever I'm looking at, just going to be entering stats for the 1984 Community Replay project. I played. Well, let me share the screen before I start talking about it. All right, so I played this game. I signed up for this series between the Chicago Cubs and the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't do a lot of National League games in this project. I do my fair share, but I don't know. I've been sticking more to the American League games, so I thought I'd do some National League games as well. Try to balance some out. Also, this is a really good project. So if you go over to cardandicebaseball.com, this group is set to private, but if you will send me a message on Facebook. I'm Big Rev Kev 55 on Facebook. Kevin Thomas, I might show up as. But if you just send me a username, if you go to cardandicebaseball.com and create an account and send me your username, I'll happily join you to this group to be able to see it. If you have an account, if you've used this before, just know this group is set to private. This league is set to private, so you can't just see it. You have to request access. So if you go to create an account, or if you already have an account, just send me your username, and I'll add you to the group. You can see if you go over to the members section, you can see we got quite a few people. I'm not going to show everybody's usernames there, but I picked up. You can look at the schedule, and you can see the National League. It's pretty close. In the East, especially, the fourth place, fifth place Cubs are only 2.5 out. So 2.5 games separating the Expos to the Cubs. Pittsburgh starting to fall out with 9 games behind. You can click on the Cubs here, and you can see they are have a big four game series here. I didn't realize that was a 4 game series. Um, I'm playing this June 1st. Let me look on the schedule here and see. Do I need to back up to the 31st? Did they have a game on the 31st? Well, I know they had a game, but somebody might have already played it. No. So I already played this game on the 1st, and it was a blowout. Philadelphia won 10-2. So it was kind of disappointing. I'll go over those stats in a minute. But I didn't realize that I'll go ahead and play all 4 of these games. That this was a 4 game series. I already signed up for the other games, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games. There's the Friday game. Here is the Saturday game, and there is the Sunday game. So it's actually a 4 game series. So that's interesting. And let me put in here that Philadelphia won. I believe I said 10-2. 10-2. Put the N for the National League, I guess. So yeah, that was quite the game. And I'm just going to enter in the stats here. I made a pretty interesting Facebook post earlier today that well, I've made a lot of them. I'm going to try to stop posting because I feel like I might annoy people. But over on the Digital to Dice podcast group, I posted a question about several really, but one of the ones I'm really just kind of interested in because I played this game in Stratomatic. It'd been a really long time since I played Stratomatic, and Stratomatic was I was a Strat guy forever, 20 something years. It's really the only other game I ever played, and I had heard of APA. Thought I'd never play it. Didn't even know the other companies really existed. I really didn't know that they existed. So um, my dog's gonna bark for a few minutes. I have this terrible Great Pyrenees, terrible indoor pets. Or they are terrible indoor pets. But while I was playing Stratomatic, I found myself. I've kind of come full circle. I found myself wishing, like, why can't Stratomatic do what this game does or what that game does? Really, it was season ticket baseball. I found myself like, man, season ticket baseball just kind of gets to the level of Stratomatic, but without Stratomatic Advanced. And I've always played Super Advanced. I actually started the game trying to play Basic, but I just never played Basic. And I was having to stop and look up the rules and see what's basic and what's super advanced and what's advanced. So I just switched over to advanced, super advanced, because that's the game I can play the fastest. Um, but even still, I was rusty and just finding myself asking, why can't Stratomatic do what Season Ticket does? And finding myself just finding it interesting that I've come full circle, and then thinking about how I feel like as a community we've been pretty hard on Stratomatic. And earlier today I was listening to the APA podcast, and I know a lot of people are down on APA's customer service. I've never had a bad experience. I usually get the products super fast from APA. Of course, I live in Nashville and they're in Atlanta, so that's probably a lot easier, less postal service that you have to deal with. But I've never had a problem with APA, and I love APA now. Um, but all that said, it really got me thinking about this question: like, are we as a community harder on Stratomatic and APA because they're bigger companies, or at least we perceive they're bigger companies? I really think they're kind of one man shows. I know they have one owner. I've been to the APA headquarters. Um, I think he has two part time people working for him or with him. I really have no idea. So some of you will probably correct me on that. But it's not a huge company, but I don't know. What I think it is, I do think as a community, we're kind of harder on those companies. And what I think it is I think the owners of Season Ticket Baseball, like Clay Dreslock and, um, you know, the other guys, should have started naming people, but the other guys, they're gamers themselves. Like, I see them playing their own games and posting on replays and participating in community projects, and they're very involved in their Facebook groups, um, and all of that. So I think we identify with those guys a lot more and are more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I posted the question out there. I'm enjoying all the comments that are coming in and the discussion that we're having. So I think that's a good question. Um, so back to entering these stats and looking at the box score. So Marty Bystrom um, pitched phenomenally in Stratomatic. His point of weakness, and I use the super advanced rules, and I use obviously PC Replay Baseball. This is PC Replay Baseball. I don't use its pitcher fatigue rules, but if you use the helper, it's going to show you the pitcher fatigue if he's tired or not. And he never got tired in that game, and he never got tired by Stratomatic's point of weakness super advanced rules. Even though his POW is a 5, the rule is if they give up 3 walks or runs in 1 inning, or once they reach that point of weakness inning, so the 5th inning, or 4, a combination of 4 over 2 innings, then they get fatigued. He never even reached the fatigue point. So I kept him in, and I let him. I don't know if he pitched a whole game in 1984. But I'll typically go with the game rule, especially in a blowout. I figured it was no need for Philadelphia to blow through their bullpen in a blowout, especially in 1984. That I felt like it was pretty realistic. Um, and we care about realism in the 1984 project, but with so many people playing so many different games, it's not going to be to the degree of realism that probably we would do in an individual if we were individually doing our own replay. So I kept him in there, and he got the complete game. He did give up 2 runs, 13 hits. You can see defense was terrible. There were 5 errors across the game, and looking at the box score, you can see Say, I believe, had 3 hits for the Cubs, and Dernier, and I don't know all of these guys' names. I remember Ryan Sandberg. He was obviously one of the star players of the era, and I do remember him, but he was 0 for 5 for the Cubs. Gary Matthews it was 4 for 5, if I remember correctly. He hit a home run down here in the extra base hits. Maybe he did not hit a home run, but he did go 4 for 5. Hey, I guess he didn't. He didn't have any RBIs. Um, but yeah, it was just kind of a dud of a game. It was 4 innings 4 runs by the Phillies in the first inning, and then Chicago scored a run in the third. So I thought, well, maybe, but then Philly got 4 more in the fifth, and then added one in the sixth and one in the seventh, and it was just kind of planning out the string from there. Rick Russell got the loss. He went 5 1/3, gave up 10 hits, 6 earned. Um, One of the things that I'm sick with is when we kind of reset this replay, I had been keeping all of the stats in that for the players that I had used in replay, PC Replay Helper, and I could see, a lot of accumulated stats just based off of my gameplay, and I lost all of those. So these numbers are kind of starting over. For the Phillies, Von Hayes went 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Les Cayeno, maybe, I don't remember this guy. 4 for 5. Hayes had a homer. Bystrom, here's his 9 innings, 13 hits, only 2 runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So he had a great game. And yeah, total of 40 hits, 5 errors. Bystrom with the win, Russell with the loss. So I'm going to go and enter these box scores over on Card and Dice. I was going to stay online and talk while I did this, but I lack that ability to do that. So I'll at least kind of give you a walkthrough. So with this loss, let's see what the standings are going to be. So with the loss, I'll at least go put the results in. I think it'll update the standings. It won't do the stats yet. So the Cubs are 24 and 25. Let me see if once I put the results in, if it updates the standings or if it has to wait until I put the stats in. So the Cubs got 1 in the third and 1 in the eighth. And then Philadelphia got 4 in the first, 4 in the fifth. I think it was 1 in the sixth, 1 in the seventh. And then when I hit validate here, it should say 10-2 in 9 innings, which is what happened. So I'm going to save that. And you can see I did get out of order, so I'm going to go back. Oh, that is San Francisco. I put it on the wrong date. So I'm going to need to fix this. I'll fix that later because the standings are still going to be the same. So now the Cubs are 24 and 26, 3 games behind. Philly moves within a half game. the three-way tie between the Mets, the Cardinals, and the Expos. So uh, maybe the Cubs. I'm not a Cubs fan per se. I don't dislike the Cubs. I don't dislike the Tigers, but I'm cheering for those two teams. In these types of replays, I generally cheer for the historic results. So I'm cheering for the Dodgers and the Cubs to meet in the World Series. If I'm not mistaken, not the Dodgers and the Cubs, the Tigers and the Cubs to meet in the World Series. The Tigers have been gaining ground in the AL East. The Cubs have been gaining ground as well, but the Cubs have they're only 3 games out. Maybe they can win the last 3 of the 4 against the Phillies, or at least get a split, or 3 of 4 would be nice. Some of the leaders down here: Tony Gwynn hitting 366, Mullenix hitting 353, Wade Boggs, Lou Whitaker, and Kent Herbick. I guess those are guys you would expect. Home runs, some of the categories I care about. Bernatsky has been hot, 18 homers. I think I had a game where he had, I know at least 2. I feel like I had a game where he had 3. Ricky Henderson's got 32 stolen bases. Buddy Black, 9-0. Oral Hershiser, 1.49 ERA. That's to be expected. Dwight Gooden, I think we got off just a little bit. I think we've got one extra game of usage in for Dwight Gooden. When we started off, this was not a as played replay. Now we're doing as played modified, which means if you want to be in the project and try to do as played, you can go to Baseball Reference to get the stats. This schedule here is as schedule, but what I did was, because it's kind of too late to switch it, because the as scheduled schedule is what is imported here in Card and Dice Baseball. So that's kind of it's too late to switch over per se. But what we're doing is we're keeping the schedule, and we're keeping the schedule in here. But if you pick a game, so like I picked this game on line 657 here, and in real life it was postponed. So it's as scheduled was 5/31. It was postponed to September 6th. So for all the games that were postponed, I've got a hyperlink here to that makeup game. So you can come here and you can find those stats that line up. So you can find when the game actually was, like PC Replay Baseball or Digital Diamond. It's there for you as well. So I just went to, that day, and that's where I lost my stats, because I had started off as schedule in PC Replay Baseball, and then I switched everything over in PC Replay Baseball to an as played schedule, and that's when I lost all my stats. So, or had to reset all my stats that I had been playing. But thankfully, we didn't lose any stats that were in Card and Dice Baseball, which is our main stat keeper. And it's a little bit of a pain to put the stats in here, but it's really not bad once you get used to it. I've made several videos, if you search my YouTube channel, on how to put the stats in quickly. I'm not going to do that here. But it really, if you use the keyboard shortcuts, the stat entry goes, I can put a game in less than 5 minutes. The National League games take a little longer because there are a lot more subs, but it's not bad. And a lot of guys use this site for other projects as well. But I'm kind of going off topic quite a bit. But what I was saying was, if you get assigned to one of those, if you pick one of those games, you can go there to find the box score. I also have a YouTube video on how to handle these postponed games that switched from the original scheduled date. So that's out there for you as a tool, as a resource to use. And I think we were reviewing kind of some of the standings and the leaders. There's just all kinds of stats out here. Dan Quisenberry quiz as he goes. I think he was called 15 saves, so he's leading the majors in saves. And you can see we're switching to a modified as played format since we started with an as scheduled schedule. There'll be games to play that did not take place on the date in our project. So see Facebook main post too. So if you go over to the Facebook page and you go to that group, we switched this over to a private group. So if you go over to the 1984 group and you go to the featured videos, the first video, I pinned this video to the top, main post 2. This is actually a little outdated as well, but not as outdated as what was the original main post that everybody was using, that I unpinned from featured because this is really different now than where we started. JC Sports Replays started this project, um, and he kind of bowed out a little bit into it, which is fine. Anybody who bows out is welcome back in. I think I'm probably going to ask at some point if somebody else wants to take over. I've just kind of taken up the reins and ran with it when it started losing interest. Um, so it's going to be a project that I bet as a community it takes us years to complete, but we may never complete it. It may turn into a one-man project. I may be the only one doing it at some point. Somebody else might take over running this and set it up how they want it to be. But right now, this is kind of where we're at. And here's all the rules and instructions about it. So we're still using the same. Here's the link to the spreadsheet. Here's the link to Card and Dice Baseball. Here is the video that I was telling you about dealing with postponed games. Here's a video on how to enter in stats. Here's a getting started video if you're new to the project. This one, I do need to make like a getting started to video probably. This one's pretty good, but maybe a little outdated. This is another video on entering in stats. Here's our original stat entry tutorial video that JC Sports Replay did, who set all this up. So here is if you have Stratomatic, we were originally just using the Stratomatic carded players, so that's out there. Oh yeah, that reminds me, back on the spreadsheet, there are a few tabs. I'm still logging into Teams for work. I'm off from work today because August is a crazy month, so I'm actually taking some extended time off. And we used to need these tabs here, and I linked in the roster sheet, but this is left over from when we were doing a different way. We were only using the players that were carded by Stratomatic, but now that we're doing any player from the season, as long as your game has it. And then here's a YouTube video that I made on dealing with rainouts. There's the National League version here. Here's the AL roster sheet if you want it, key trades. None of those are really needed anymore, but I kept those tabs there. So, hey, Brad. Yeah, I did just play this game. I see Adirondack Gus, you're enjoying playing the replay co-op. You've been using Pocket Pennant Run. That's a game I want to try. I've not tried that game yet. So I do want to try that. And that game looks really fun. I do want to give that a try. But yeah, I guess I'm going to call that a video. You can click on these team stats and see team stats, look at the different players. There's a stats tab up here. You want to sort by, teams with the most stolen bases, teams with the most home runs, the best ERA. Who's leading in ERA? The Tigers, go figure, are leading with ERA. But here's the homepage. There's pitching leaders, So there's lots of stuff out here. It's really fun project, and yeah, Adirondack. I saw that Pocket Pennant Run has a helper mode as well. I use PC Replay Baseball for my helper. I love it, but I'm gonna at some point going to give Pocket Pennant Run a try. Also, it was coded in Python, and I really enjoy the computer program Python, so I'm really interested in giving that a try. And yeah, I don't know if you saw the beginning, Adirondack Gus, but I played this game with Strat, and it's been a long time since I played with Strat. It used to be my go-to game. It was the only game I ever played for a long time. And I played with Strat, entered it in PC Replay Baseball. Now I need to enter the stats over into Card and Dice. So that's probably I think it's probably the third time saying I'm gonna call it a video, but I'm gonna call it a video and go upload these, play the other 3 games in the series, and hope the Cubs can take 3 out of these 4 or do no worse than a split with the Phillies. So hope you guys have a good one. I'll probably post a series recap and put it on the 1984 group page when I get done. But for now, in game 1 of the series, it was a blowout. Philly won 10-2, and 3 more games to go. Didn't realize it was a 4-game series, so I had to get those other 3 games in. Have a good one. Bye.